On Saturday, even if I tell myself, oh, I'm going to sleep, and I woke up at like 6:45. So started the day, started looking around the charts, and just started looking at some of the news and notes. And one of the big key things that points off the chart, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday. I never got into it in a deep fashion, but we talked about how there was a hidden divergence with Bitcoin. And it's when you talk in relation to the relative strength index, not the stochastic RSI, but just the traditional RSI, which measures the relative strength index. And the stochastic, you get a little more details within. So when you look at the RSI, you can clearly see the RSI is dumping and the price actually went up. Like the price is continuing to rise while the indicator is actually dropping. It creates a hidden divergence in there. Now, it might be nothing, because if Bitcoin were to break down and ultimately start hunting 98K and break that structure down to 92, this isn't going to matter, because the price is going to make a new low within, and then it's going to make this irrelevant. But as it stands right now, and this is in the weekly time frame, so this has gone on for some time. I don't know what's going on. YouTube's not loading on my other screen, so I don't know what the hell is going on. YouTube won't load on my, looks like I'm gonna have to reset my other screen, because it keeps closing it, a forced close on my, so I can't see the comments right now. But anyhow, I'll load this up in the background, and then if it starts working, if YouTube allows me to see my own comments, I will comment to everybody. I just don't want to turn it on my tablet and make it a little more difficult for everybody to see, because it takes up like 1/3 of my left side of the screen. So good morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Saturday, October 18th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So I hope your Saturday started off blessed. Don't forget to give thanks to your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, Yahweh, Yeshua, our higher power God himself, as this is the holiest day of the week, even though traditionally we would say Sunday in the USA, which, well, anyhow, it's not my place. But give thanks, be grateful, and just try to help and lend a helping hand here to anybody in the community who might not understand. Show grace, show compassion, and, sometimes it's not somebody else's fault if they just don't see it the same way, or if they don't understand what's transpiring because they haven't been through it before. They haven't seen it. So the comments are back on. Jay from Mix Welcoming, and Coppervine, and Anna. Thank you, all three of you, for tuning in. Love it. Anna, I appreciate seeing you back here as well. We're going to create a special friendship here, if everybody remembers the conversation we had a couple days ago. Mark Caston and CJ2 Pilot, welcome. And along with Crazy Pole, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year at the I Told You So badge. All the World Stage, Shane, Miss G Stott, and Michael, thanks for being in Tom's Army 3+ months with the XP Meteor. And Shane, I seen your message. Never responded to it, but last night I went out with Julie for a little bit while my mom was here, and then I didn't even get back to anything. I kind of got stuck with dad time with my son, and then passed out later at night without, kind of shut the brain off. But welcome, everybody. I appreciate it. Mark Korf, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Zone for your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. And that is my face superimposed on that emoji badge, which is awesome. Florida Attorney, good morning. Crypto Plumber 589 and Mr. Stott in the house as well. Thanks for being in Tom's Zone for 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Mr. and Mrs. Stott are off to watch the youngest son to play some football. Good luck with that. And we pray that nobody ends up in the, it's a little bit of a dangerous sport, so we pray for the safety of the players. Let's just say that. Adam Carilla says the road to Tom Vember. I know, it seems like we've been talking about it forever, but we're close. Mosey here and Mark Caston, good morning. Thanks for being in Tom's Zone for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. And Anime Creations, welcome, and appreciate seeing you here as well. Everybody. So, first thing I'll do, just so you can see it a little bit easier, if you go to my Facebook page, you'll be able to see it just like this. So, you got the price in the weekly time frame where you went from, you can see where the yellow line's connected. And I could superimpose and start drawing over this on my tablet, but I'm just going to go into my chart again after. So, this is an easier way to see it, just like this. But if you look at it, I added the indicator here on my chart, but it's going to be above the stochastic. But basically all it's emulating there is the fact you're creating this downward structure, but you're creating a rise in the price here. So it's kind of hidden here. But it starts here. You've got an increase in price. So you go from right around mid-June up until here into November, well, mid-October, and you've got a price appreciation. However, in the relative strength index from mid-June, even though the price has appreciated, the relative strength index has actually come down here. So if it doesn't break this structure, this is telling us that we have a divergence here, and we very well could be moving up very sneakily in the short term. Now, does that mean that the pattern completely plays out and it's just done? On the way on, and we bottomed out? We don't know. We don't know. But it certainly helped having that big clear out that we had and then bought it right back up. So this is just something. Farm Gal says, do you purchase gold and silver at all? And if so, how much? What do you mean, how much? I go back. I have a silver stacking series here when I was encouraging the audience to buy gold when it was around 1700 all the way up to 2000, and they could have kept buying if they wanted. And we encouraged to buy silver from 16 all the way to, well, you could have bought it whenever you wanted, but I was promoting it at 16 to 27, 28. And then I started to tell people, forget the gold and silver and start buying the mining stocks if you're already happy with how much, because that's where you can start to, just like a stock, because it is a stock, but it's what's getting these assets or these commodities out of the ground, I should say. Those are what you can buy and sell along the way, and then you can turn it into even more gold and silver if you so choose, but at an elevated rate. So yes, I love gold and silver. I'm not going to tell you how much gold and silver I've purchased, but I like gold and silver. And if so, how much? Like, if you're asking me how many ounces, that's my business. If you ask me how much silver and gold, like at what price, well, that's a different question. But as such, you know, you should respect certain parameters. But I encourage to buy gold and silver. If you're buying right now, you buy silver. The gold-silver ratio is at 81.8. I figured you were talking percentages, but I was just making a general statement for anybody who's, you know, asking. But yes. You're welcome, Farm Gal. But percentage-wise, right now, honestly, you buy the silver, and then when the ratio goes from 81, and let's just say it goes down, historically, you're looking at a 7 to 8 to 1, if not lower. But even if we go to 15, 20, I told my audience 40 to 1, just to make it more realistic for anybody who's not familiar with the history of the gold-silver ratio. So if you buy it at 81.8 to 1, right now, you buy silver, it goes to 40 to 1 ratio, which it will. Over time, this is absolutely going to go there. And we don't know if it peaks out again at 100. We don't know what it's going to do, but eventually it's going to get to that 40 to 1 ratio and lower. So what you would do then is you would take 40 ounces of silver, which I tell people take 44, just in case there's an overage, there's difference in the spot fees. Because even though it's a 1-to-1 trade-off, you still have to pay the pawn shop, the dealer, whoever's dealing with the actual bullion, the bullion dealer. You're gonna have to pay them their differential with the spot price. So right now on silver, it's about $4, $5. So you're gonna have to make up that difference in another ounce of silver. So I just tell people, and it's way more than you're gonna have to do. So if you want to go from 40 to 1, I tell them bring 43. And then you're not even going to have to use all three of those. But just so you have the little overage difference, or 40, whatever the case may be. So now you take those 81 ounces of silver and you say, I want an ounce of gold. So you don't need to take 81. Let's just say you take 45. You leave 36 at home. And you give them the 45 ounces of silver and they hand you a bar of gold. Well, now you've got an ounce of gold and you've got 36 ounces of silver. This is how they do it. This is how they do it. This is no different than buying the XRP Bitcoin ratio the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing, I should say, or the XRP Bitcoin pairing, or the XDC XRP pairing when they're out of whack, one way or the other. So you play one side and then you exchange it for the other asset, in this case, commodity, when the ratio goes back the other direction. And that's what I've been doing. I was buying silver mostly when it was over 100 to 1. 95, 100, 110. We got into an area here for several years where the gold silver ratio was completely out of whack. And it was phenomenal. And it just so happened to, this was before I started. When I first started to really get into this stuff was around here. But fortunately, when we started, we got to watch it. And then when it peaked out in 22, this is when we were like, okay, a lot of silver here. And then it came back up again, fortunately, to 107 here in recent times. And that's why this whole rally up, we've been talking about silver, silver, silver. If you're going to buy gold and silver, buy the silver now. And then look, if you would have bought, and this is a perfect example, you could have bought 106 ounces of silver here. And just today, where it's at, you could walk into your bullion dealer and take 85 ounces of silver. They'll hand you an ounce of gold, and you're still going to have about 15 ounces, or what is that? 25 ounces of silver right now. That's the truth. You could have literally bought it at the top of the ratios, and you could take 107 ounces of, or let's just say 104 ounces of silver, bring it now into the bullion dealer, and let's just say they have an outrageously high cap where they're charging you for the spot price. Outrageous, and you're sick to your stomach, and they're like, we're going to need 87 ounces of your silver here to give you 1 ounce of gold. And you're like, God damn it, that's 6 ounces over. Okay, fine, I'm still going to take my ounce of gold, and I've still got 18 ounces of silver. So who really got screwed there? The dealer thinks he just screwed you, but in reality, because you're smart and understanding the ratio, you just made out like a bandit. You got an ounce of gold that you didn't even, you bought the silver, which you still get to keep 16 ounces of silver, which is what you end up saving. That's why I say you can get half price gold if you do it right. It's going to take time, just like you can get half price XRP if you do it right with the ratio. But at that time, these times pass. And now that opportunity is not there anymore because the gold silver ratio is not at 105, but it's at 81.8. So now I'm still waiting. I didn't trade any of my gold first. I'm waiting for it to go to 40, 30. And we're going to do a whole big thing here when that happens. And then we're going to say, how many ounces of gold can we get for our silver that we accumulated? Or how much XRP can you trade? It's the same principle. So, great question. I love it. I love that question. However, I'm still purchasing both crypto and gold and silver. Not as much as I want to, but every little bit counts. Thank you. Oh, absolutely. You're doing a great thing. You're doing a great thing. I've physically seen gold, silver make money, but lost on every single crypto I've purchased. Then that's by design. Gold and silver is a direct correlation to the devaluing of your dollar. Crypto is a speculative nonsense. I tell this to everybody, and I know it's a shocker when you come into my community and you're used to everybody else calling it the greatest thing since sliced bread. I am on the opposite end of that. Yes, we made nice amounts of money in here since 21, but not without work coming in here every single day because you have to sell the cycle. Crypto, you have to sell cycle. Gold and silver, you're not buying it and saying, I got to sell the cycle. I got to sell the cycle. No, you hold on to that. You're not selling it. Even if you bought it at 2,000, you're not selling it at 4,000. That's your hedge against inflation. That's your hedge against the dollar going down in your native countries, your unit of debt. Crypto doesn't have that capability. That's why everybody who called it a store of value and they try to time it and pair it to gold are freaking idiots. Imagine putting a digital code that could be easily erased and eradicated and taken out with AI and supercomputers, that it's already happening with fake blocks, and trying to compare it with real monetary money, real metal, something that can conduct into. If the code was gone for crypto, everybody says XRP is so good, and this is where they missed the boat, because it is great, but not for the reason everybody says. Everybody says XRP is great because I can send my money or my dollar from, let's just say, Michigan, where I live, to Saudi Arabia in a half a second. Congratulations, I can point out 500 different ones that can do the same thing. And some that do it quicker. And I had to prove it to the audience that there are some that are quicker. That's not what makes XRP great. What makes it great is it's got the liquidity cap, and it's got listen, the person who created Bitcoin created XRP. The central banks are going to use XRP, which I've been saying since the beginning, so that they have so it makes them look liquid. They don't want to look like they don't have capital. So in their banks across the world, when we go digital, it's basically going to be their liquidity. It's going to prove that they're solvent. That's all it is. So they're going to put an artificial number up, but there's 100 billion tokens. And we know it's not all banks, so you don't need XRP at every single bank. The central bank doesn't care about a credit union. They'll wipe them out eventually if they have to. The credit union is the own state bank. But the central banks across the world and every single developed nation that has a Fed or the Euro or all your independent ones that basically control you, and then they put a puppet in charge. Trump right now, Biden before, next will probably be Kamala, who the hell knows, but they're all puppets to the bank. So XRP, they've already tapped it for this. They're not going around it. It's been tapped for this. This is what they've been working on since 2011 or whatever, 2014, since they signed those papers. And they keep reinventing the wheel. So that I believe those tokens, and that's why you can't burn them. Everybody, we're going to burn all these tokens. Well, then I'm out. Because then my theory and my philosophy is out the window. You need these tokens, and that's why they slowly but surely come out of escrow, relock so many up, because then they can sell them at arbitrage at a different price. And we already know that's true, because if you go back to 2022 and 3, when we went through the official documents as they came out from the courts, they had redacted one section, and it was like 100 and something pages we had to go through. And it took us 3 lives of like 3 hours, 3 days in a row. But we went through every fine freaking detail. And in one spot, we finally got there at the back end of it, where it was the price to retail and the price for institutions or the exchanges, blah, 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 the big buyers. And it had 2 different prices, and it was the only spot in this entire like 5-page section when it talked about it. They decided to redact the numbers. So they redacted not the fact that exchanges and retail was buying it at a different price. They didn't want us to see the actual difference in price. And what I think is going on, these entities may not even be paying for this. They may be given this for further demand and further reason that we can't quite understand right now. And if they are paying, it's pennies on the dollar. So when they sell it onto the market, it's a weird thing that happens. So there's a reason why they have so many tokens. Like, there really is a reason why there's so many tokens. So don't go down the road, if they burn half of them, we're fine. We're screwed. It completely throws my argument right out the window. So I really. Good morning, Tom. Are you waiting to buy? And if yes, what are you looking? Oh, no, I'm not waiting. I already bought. Remember that? Mina, I'm glad you're in here, and I'm glad you're in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens. In fact, when we had that big drop, Mina, I bought 8 million dent at 0.00029. I didn't get the bottom, but I had a nice buy there. I bought Band at 37 cents. I bought IOTA at 8.6 cents, which I've already shown everybody. Algo at 13 cents. I bought 10,000 more XLM. Is that all I bought? No, I bought Epic. 8,800 tokens. Near 70 cent area on average. So, but yeah, I bought some stuff there, but no, I am not personally expanding on my XRP holdings. I bought them where I wanted to at 34 cents. The ones I bought at 38 cents in the XRP Bitcoin pairing, I was able to sell way over 330, 340, 350 range. And now that's been able to be put into other investments that are now return a good amount. I've also been able to take some of the money from crypto in the January. For anybody who's new, I made a very bold call a long time ago. and it paid off very nicely back in January. I sold 75% of my crypto and turned my focus to gold, silver, and mining stocks. I didn't buy any bullion. I bought all mining stocks in January, but my attention was firmly there. But I kept my 34-cent XRP, which is over 12,000 tokens, is over 10,000. I don't really like to say the exact amount because we base it on 10,000 tokens at 34 cents could turn into 34,000, which it did. So then it was up to people to take profits or know what they're going for. So, but I fixed my whole house up too, besides my bathroom. I did a lot of work in my house. I did about $80,000 between my kitchen, my living room, getting new windows throughout the house. Because when we bought the house, it was built in 52, 55, but it hasn't been updated since the 70s. So it definitely needed to be updated. And we've been here for a few years. So, yeah, I mean, I was very focused on what I wanted to do. Now, are those going to be the lowest of lows? And am I going to have to sell them again? I may have to. I don't know. You know, that's what I tell everybody. I don't know if I'm going to have to. If we make that next leg down to 92, I'm not holding it all the way down to 92. But we haven't hit that break point yet. You know, we haven't hit the break point on anything. So I'd rather not have to sell anything and just ride this out through November and then into the perceived coming of alt season that everybody thinks is canceled, which is, I find it hilarious. Does anybody else find it hilarious that so many people will say alt season's canceled when alts haven't even come off the bottom? Now you've got XRP, you've got Chainlink, you've got Solana, you've got Bitcoin, you've got Ethereum, you got AV, you've got a few of them down that path that have come well off the bottom and retapped their 2021 highs and even made new highs in some cases. But for the majority of the other 99%, I'm not talking about meme coins and shit coins and all this other crap that I wouldn't even stare at or, you know, light on fire like a bag of shit because it's not worth my time because that's what they are. I'm talking about utility, IoT, the Internet of Things, the ISO, the AI, and in this narrative, I think real world asset RWAs would fall into this category, but there's not a lot of them at this point. Like we know Epic Chain has the beta testing for the first actual viability of connectability, let's just say, between financial companies, blockchains, the way to be able to buy and sell the real world asset within even retail, but let's just say the user, the one who wants it, and the blockchain, there's a way to do it now, and they're basically the beta chain, let's call it. They're the beta for the real world asset being viable for me and you to buy and sell with not just our crypto, but be able to convert real dollars into it. And the Epic chain is the one that's doing it, and Ripple actually invested in it, which is what caught my attention, and the fact there's only 30 million tokens caught my attention real hardcore, but not when it was way up here. I had a plan to buy it when it back tested this entire channel, and yeah, it took a while, and a lot of our audience unfortunately got taken way up here when I was begging them to wait until it came back to 91 cents. Or 98 cents. We even got a better deal than we thought. It came and wick down to like 50 cents. And just buying the wick back up, and to the best of your ability, I was able to get around 70 centile average. I think it was 72, a little under 72. But I'm not convinced that it won't come all the way back down and tap that channel. But we have to get proper verification. We have to wait to see if it does break down this wall. You have to wait. We can't know anything until it gives us the evidence. And right now, the evidence would suggest we wanted to back test that channel. Like, how are you going to break out of that when it never back tested? So, to get into the new height. So, we figured that was just a consolidation that would break down. And fortunately, we were right. Because it's very unusual for a pattern to break out like that and then not retest the breakout. So, now the only question is with all of this, and yes, it may very well in time come through, but is it going to come up here first? It's not often when you have a pattern like this where it doesn't come back up and test that death cross if you're going to have a further move down. So I'm firmly looking around that $1.30 area for this to at least give us some kind of directive. Yes, I know this pulled like this, but that's just basically the exhaustion that happened from the wick exhaustion, the short traders having to sell, and the longs having to cover because it fell so far. And then you have that voluntary pullback. Now it's kind of like the leverage traders are starting to play a game of pinball. Because once you get on the wrong side of the trade, it's over. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Once you're on the wrong side and you think it's bullish and it's bearish, or you think it's topped and it hasn't, it's very, very difficult. Just like the same warning I put out a couple days ago about everybody who kept asking me if they'd buy miners now. And I said, listen, this seems like the exact time, because we were getting into the crazy run up, that now everybody's going to buy it, and then we're going to have that 10 or 20% cutback. And everybody who bought it from the beginning is going to say, oh my God, finally, if you've been in since January. But everybody who bought it in the last month is going to say, oh, God damn it. Especially the people who bought it during that big run up in gold and silver yesterday or 2 days ago. Because this has to happen. We're not done yet by a long shot. Unless you think the government is magically going to wave their quantitative tightening and rate rising wand, we got nowhere to go but up right now in gold and silver. After I fully expected a 20% pullback in commodities. And people are like, are you selling? No, not yet. I'm not selling yet. Now, I have certain levels like we talked about in yesterday's live where I may take profit, but I'm not selling the original buy. But I'm not there yet in all of this, because we're doing quantitative easing. We already know we're getting several rate cuts. It's not even a question. So gold and silver's got nowhere to go, unfortunately, but up. Even after we could get a strong correction. We need a 20% correction in commodities desperately, and I'm not sure if it's going to fall through on Monday. Frankie Fresh, still more longs than shorts. I wasn't seeing that before. I was seeing more shorts than longs before this drop, personally. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why everybody keeps saying that. Everybody keeps saying there's more longs than shorts based on, and Frankie Fresh, I love you to death, and it's not just you. I want to know why everybody keeps saying that. That's not true. There's more shorts than longs right now, and it's been like that the whole week. Right now, the shorts are getting wider. Shorts are at 52% across the board in Bitcoin. That's in the 4 hour. Let's go to the daily now. Yeah, it's still, shorts are starting to pile up, almost 52% in the daily time frame now, even. Unless you're talking cumulatively, but there's way more. There's way more. Oh no, Frankie, that's why I said I don't want to be a dick. That's why I said it's not directed at you. I was getting that a lot more, not from you. I'm saying in my comments on my YouTube videos were saying it, that there was a lot more people that were still going long in the market. And I'm like, I'm not seeing that evidence. I'm seeing it quite the contrary, and it's not just Bitcoin. But this is what you want. You want to see it start extending to the short side, I mean. Now there's $3 billion that can be absorbed from the short traders if we go up. I have no thoughts on Zcash, honestly. When I see all the influencers talk about it, I stay in my lane, because I know exactly what it ends up being at the end of the day. I wouldn't touch it with my 30-foot dildo that sits on the corner for these moments. No, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, if you want to know the truth. Only because all of these ones end up falling out crazy. But I don't know. So, no, XRP, it's better to hold still. If you bought it in that bear market, we haven't achieved our targets. The target for XRP in this rally, as I've been saying, is minimum of 549 and maximum of 639. And that's based on a very direct formula of that 7-year from January 2018 to November of 24 breakout, as it continued to condense from 340 as low as 10 cents. And then everything in between that you could imagine, up to $2 and down to 28 cents. And then it just... And I have the chart out there. I just don't feel like going to it just yet, because I wanted to finish going through these. But yeah, we're not done yet. And if we are, we're going into the biggest crypto bear market we've ever seen. And we'll go retest that 10.2 cent from the lawsuit announcement low in 2020. And I'm being very direct with the audience, because that's the only two things that can happen. Because if that happens, we're going into a very deep crypto winter. Deep! XRP's 50-50 right now. So XRP's flipped a little bit here. So see, Frankie Fresh, you're right. 50.06% are long now on XRP, ironically. Ethereum, 51% short, 48.98% long. Let's see Solana if some of these alts are starting to shake. Yeah, the alts are starting to come back to center a little bit, even though Solana's a pile of shit. And that's just the... If you don't know what Solana is, basically all you have to do is look at it like this. Solana is the elitists in the USA that want to trade a US-based token. That's their token of choice to pump and dump on the masses. FYI. I find it hilarious. Oh, here's another one. Yeah, see, that's what I was about to say. I'm starting to notice, like, the utility tokens are starting to... More people are pushing long, maybe a little bit here. That's good. Yeah, Tile might be, but it's so freaking over-related. And I remember talking about that. I wish I would have invested in it when we talked about it. For the AI purposes, like you speak. I talked about it a very long time ago, and it just went on a huge run. I didn't look at it on the drop, which I'll probably regret not paying attention to it on the drop. But, you know, like I say, you got to have a direct mindset when you're trying to do this. Otherwise, there's just too many variables. But I got to get into a few other things. I know we're going around the board, and it's fun looking at liquidity. It is fun. What can I say? I'm so mad at myself. We were talking about it back here, too. There's certain things that I watched, and it was just, there was so much stuff we were looking at. Oh, my God. Look what Binance did. Like, you guys who use Binance, get the fuck off of there, please. Come on now. I can guarantee you no other exchange dropped down that far. There's no way. Okay, maybe Tile is just a very liquid piece of shit at that point. I would have thought maybe Binance oversold. Well, that was Bybit. Let's get off of Bybit. See what these other ones did. Oh, no. That was not on Binance this time. But Binance is one that has liquidity issues out the ass. Man, what a huge pullback. And like I've been saying, these are set up in flag formation. So, like, until they break down, these are not bearish breakdowns. It's quite the opposite. Whew. But I don't mind it for an AI play. It's a great AI play, in fact. It's just where it's at. I don't know where the... I would have loved to have had entries much cheaper than that. Like, when it came down here, it would have been a great spot. It would have made up for the miss in early year. That's a big drop, though. But it also gave us our confirmation on that support structure. Those are important. No, it's going to depend how you draw this out, but... Because I like to see how it devalues over time and try to come up with some kind of framework. I think maybe something like that. But, you know, that's fine for when it breaks out. But then we're going to have to figure out over the top. But that... I think it gave a huge opportunity. There's no doubt about that. There is no doubt about that. How big of a comeback was that? And I know you're not getting the bottom of that wick. But when it came under 200, you could have got it under 200. I wasn't watching it, unfortunately. Yeah, it had a 178% pullback. Up 131% from the bottom. That's awesome. We're overbought right now in the 4-hourly, which that's not exactly the worst case scenario. It's more about what's going on in the higher time frames. Weekly's just breaking back up. That's a great sign. And the stochastic and the RSI. Dailies are still consolidating. Could be an inverse setup here on a little flag here, setting up an inverse pattern. Having a golden cross here with the 20 cross and the 200. Probably back test that cross. I don't know, Mrs. Scott. At $360 something, Mrs. Scott. I don't know. That would be personal preference at that point. Under 200, I wish I was watching. But I was not. And I digress. Right now, pay attention to the fact that the Bitcoin futures closed at 106,675. So we're not going to stray very far from there. We're right on point right now. No harm, no foul where we're at. We're $300 up. That's very easy to fill tomorrow night. But remember, if it gets a little expanded, it's going to contract back down. If it contracts down, it's going to expand out on the futures open or at some point. So just, we like to remember that the CME futures, you pay attention to Chicago Mercantile Exchange on Friday, and that's the Friday close number. So you want to make sure we're, at least if you're buying something or selling something, if it drops, you want to make sure you're going to sell it right around that price. If you're getting out of something, don't just do it, or you want to buy something not because they're elevated, but because we're adapted to the price from Friday. Because we will refill that area. We're going to hover around this spot. We haven't done much. We've been sitting around. We kind of stabilized out just a tiny bit. Nothing crazy. Still within this consolidation, but we did it in a better way. That's what this is for. Because we got the new evidence. Well, that's not looking the right way in the daily, but if you look at it in the 4-hourly, you can see it. Where's the other one? I actually like the other one better. Which one was it? See, we do so much stuff. This one, I think. Although, it's supposed to be... It all depends how you look at it. This is the one I think I like the best, just based on what it's showing us. Something like this. And then we're looking to see if we can break out. But we got to get over this area. It comes down all the time. Right now it's around 240. 4-hourly pushed up real fast. In the stochastic. But in the RSI, it's still fine. We're still looking fine. It's going to mainly... We're mainly going to do it on the weekly. Weekly's oversold. We came down and filled out that broadening wedge. There's just so much potential here going forward. If this actually plays out. Like, we had it in the micro with the smaller chart. But that smaller chart is just that. It ain't shit when you look at the macro. And the micro fell out as we expected after the end of the fifth wave. We didn't know how far it was going to fall, but we definitely figured that was a bearish consolidation. Especially after we realized that wedge was there, which filled out perfectly. So this chart's a little more noise, but I'm going to delete all of the noise up here. At least with the numbers, I'm going to keep up the way it fell out. Ah, shit. Because we want to see how it fell out, because then when we get the consolidation back up, it's right around 262, 264, because you're going to have to push back past that area of resistance. Frankie Fresh, you're down. That's exactly what I said when you bought it originally. You bought it before the big drop, when it went into that zone. And then when it dropped down, you didn't buy any more to lower your average. And when you're down a lot on assets, the biggest problem a lot of us make is the fact we buy something, we don't have capital behind it. I am guilty of the same thing often. And then if it were to fall out, there's no way to buy the cheaper part. But, I mean, at this point, what are you going to do? Unless you want to sell it out for 50%. But you got to remember, there's still this possibility that this doesn't hold. And we got to deal with something even bigger. But as of right now, when I look at this, let me do this 100% here. Because, like, you can use the evidence of this now that we have it deeper down. But if this falls out of this setup, it would be a problem. Like, we really want this to pull back up over that 59, but it's come down even farther. So if it doesn't pull back up here, I mean, we're almost to a point where it's going to look pretty delicate here in the weekly and the monthly. And it may already be at that point. We've got a lot of room underneath still. But if we break out, when it's the right time, this has a lot of power to move. It's the same thing I've said a long time, and I'll keep saying it. And I love you, Frankie, and I love everybody who watches. I even love myself when it comes to the portfolio. But the hardest thing for us is, are we buying the right spot? Like, we get so mentally into it when we want to buy it, when we have these big pumps. that we're not looking at the other side. The other side here is, because if we don't buy at the right spot, we're going to be one of the casualties of 95% of crypto traders. And even if you're an enlightened crypto trader, 95, and that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Even the influencers that do all this, and they're the reason why it's this high, 95% of crypto traders are underwater at any given time. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Because they're always pushing buy the tops, and then when we have 65% drops, what did they all say? Don't buy any of this. Why not? You could have already sold for 100%, 70%, even now 50%. Those are the times you want to buy. When everybody's like, oh my God, we're into liquidity hysteria. Unless we're just going to zero, you have to have the short coverings from the long traders. The longs have to buy it back because they went down. You always have this. So like when you're looking to buy something, how many times did I say I can't endorse you to buy right now? I can't tell you to buy here. I won't tell you to buy here. But then on that big drop, I said to buy. But then once it came back up, I said I can't endorse you to buy here because we don't know the consolidation or if it's going to go lower. Because there's only moments of opportunity. Just like when Band, I gave a moment of opportunity before this big run up where I told everybody XRP, if you want to trade XRP at 340 and buy Band, and it was at like 50 something, 60, low 60s here, you have a moment of opportunity to buy, and then after the rally, you sell it or do whatever you want to do, and then you can buy and do whatever you want, but it had that moment of opportunity. Once that moment's gone, it's gone. Head and shoulders broke down, and then you see the pain. Now it's, can we build back up and finish this off? Because technically this pattern was telling us from the beginning, it could take until early 26, which is why I kept saying Q1 of 26, you know, for some, but I still expect mid-November, first to second week in November, like typically, is where we're going to start to see the relief. And yeah, it might not be felt fully until next year, but it should start at that. If this doesn't pan out, I've been very clear. If it doesn't pan out, everything you see, take 9/10 off. And for XRP, it's like take 9.5 out of 10 off. Because we would have to go down to fill the gap. And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news if this doesn't pan out. But if it doesn't, and we're just going into a crypto winter, which I don't think that's the case right now. I really don't. Mainly because we've never had an alt season. This would be the first time in history we don't have an alt season when Bitcoin, Ethereum make those run back up and not have the alts do the same. All the alts have done is come from 95% off the bottom to 90% off the bottom right now. Aside from a few, like I've said, with XRP and a couple others. Aside from that, they've barely moved. Like, and I'm not talking about the peasants. Like, IOTA is a mainframe token of the Internet of Things. If you have any value in the Internet of Things, smart contracts, smart devices, smart everything, smart cities, smart fucking cars, and all of that, you know the stake for IOTA. And it's down 90% from its last alt season. That's not an alt season. We haven't had it. If we don't have it, we don't have it. But I get sick and tired of reading all across alt season's top. Based on what? It drives me nuts. Just say, no, we might not have an alt season, and that's okay. We can talk about that, but don't tell me alt season's top, that it's topped. How can you have a top when you haven't even come off the bottom? It's like saying we're going ice skating, but it's fucking the middle of summer. What the hell are you talking about? There's no snow out there yet. Nothing's frozen. How are you going to go ice skating? The lake's fucking water. You mean water skiing? We're still in the summertime. You know, that's, so it's just, it's just, there's certain things that drive my mind insane. And it's like, I understand, maybe we don't go into an alt season, but we never got there to begin with. But we still took advantage, did we not? We were buying in 23 when everybody said we're stupid. And we sold in January when everybody said we couldn't possibly fall. Like, who's the stupid ones? And then we bought back when we had the epic drops. I mean, come on. And we bought and sold in between. It was, and we switched to the sure sector. And now that sure sector, we need to see if that sector tops. But you have to get the evidence of tops and bottoms. I'm not the person who's selling at the very top. I don't care about selling the top. I care about selling the right shoulder of a problem. So I didn't sell in December. I sold in January. In some cases, some were up, some were farther down than December. Some never made it back up, but it ended up being right shoulders formed at that time of the pattern. Now we've come back down. Now when we switch to fear, when we switch to when everybody should be like, oh man, I'm excited. You know how many people were excited when we're at fucking extreme greed? Everybody. Couldn't tell people fast enough to say, oh, this is where you get your ass wiped. Now we're at extreme fear, and guess what everybody says? We've topped. Oh, we've topped. XRP is the closest crypto to real-life utility and adoption. Nah, see, that's going to get you in trouble too, Shane. It's not just XRP. It is not. It's not. It's just in the way we look at it. If you really think that, how is it possible that in 2017-18 XRP was worth $3.50, and almost a decade later it's been devalued by 1/3? I don't know. I like it. I love it. I embrace it. I know what it's here for. But XRP is no different than the rest of crypto right now. It's down 1/3 for 8 years. We can call it manipulation or whatever we want. But it is. I don't trick myself into thinking it's so much better than everything else. I know what it's here for. I know the value of it, but it's not absolved. And it's not absolved, or it's not given a free pass. It's not given the invisible card for crashes. And unfortunately, we have owners that put a lot of selling pressure onto retail. I'm not stupid. But at the same time, it's probably one of the best ones we have when it comes to, okay, well, when we switch over to this digital and the central banks need to have some kind of collateral, this is where they've chosen. That's not me saying it. That's the truth. But then you've also got XDC. Now, when you look at value, you got to be very careful. What's held value better over time? What is the best value holder since 2018? And we could do a debate on that. What crypto has given the best returns since the peak of 2018? Because everybody wants to take the bottom of 2017. I disagree with that. Because everybody's talking about you're going from level to level to level. If you're growing upon growing upon growing, you should be, over a 5-year period, we shouldn't be given losses. Or over a 10-year period, you shouldn't be down. But here we are. There's some people holding XRP from 2018 that are still down by almost 40%. Let that sink into your brain right now. Or 30%. That's a lot. Imagine I said, hey, I know you bought that bar of gold in 2018, but you're down 30%. What? How good is the US dollar doing? My God, we must be living in the promised land. I'm not unhappy about owning XRP. I'm just saying. I feel like sometimes I step on my audience toes and then people leave when I talk like this, but it is what it is. The actual number of people that own XRP, I mean, think about it. How many influencers are there pushing XRP that are paid shills? Of course people own XRP because all they see is people talk about it. I would like to see how many people would own XRP if you didn't watch one single influencer that said XRP is going to 10,000. If you're in my audience, did you buy XRP before first researching XRP because somebody on YouTube said to buy it? I'm not talking about me because I told you to buy it at 34 cents, but I was giving you facts of why to buy it. How many of you bought it just because somebody told you it was going to 10,000 or 1,000? And how many of you bought it over $3 because of that and are watching right now and are willing to admit it? That's a better study. Shane, poll how many people bought it at 34 cents compared to $3. Then you'll get the right answer. It's absolutely in the gameplay. It's absolutely in the elitist play. That's why I own it. But we have to be realistic with the movement so that we can stay within the parameters. See, I make sure that my head is level so that when everybody's looking at these big time movements in this cycle, It's going to 50, it's going to 100, it's going to 25 by Christmas. You know how many people ask me that still? Can it really go there by Christmas? Yes, it's going to $25 by Christmas. Have fun. Is that what you want me to say? We're going to have $250,000 off of our 10,000 token buy at 34 cents by Christmas. Is that what we want to hear? On a profit loss, on a plus minus ratio, retail probably gets hemorrhaged worse in XRP than any other crypto in existence. I'm being dead serious. There's probably more losses on retail holders of crypto, and 75% of the people watching me right now are probably in the negative in XRP. And and I hate saying that, but it's the truth. Because even my own audience, when I was trying to convince them to buy it, only a small percentage did at 34. And then they're trying to tell me why I should buy it at 250. It's like, it doesn't work that way. If somebody knew to buy it at 34, why would they be buying it at 250? And that doesn't even make, unless you think it's going to infinity and it's an inflation, but it's not. We're not, we don't, we're, in honesty, we get more value on XRP if the dollar goes lower, because then it's worth more on the piece on the screen and as a digital asset, but not as an actual unit of debt, which is actually the dollar. I love it when everybody, like Lucky Guy, laugh out loud laughing at me like I'm a jackass. Why is the institution buying now then, huh? Question mark with the price so high. What did I say in the beginning of this? We went through all of this in 23. The institutions buy at a different price than we do, so they're not paying $2.26. They're probably paying 10 cents on the dollar. That's why they're buying. Come on now. Why is everybody buying Bitcoin at 125? I mean, I need to go get my drink. Oh, that might be fine. Took a while, but I think it got there. That's what it looked like last time. It might have it. Sounds like it. Listen, guys, I love XRP like the rest of us, more than the rest. In fact, I've been pushing it for years when it was cheap. But I want the real reasons why it's going up. Don't give me institutions are buying it at right now. That's why. Because I can show you the framework where institutions aren't even paying the exchange price. So please stop with that. It's the legal clarity, and they are the only crypto company making moves like that. I'm willing to live with my decision to continue to buy XRP long term. Everything else is for sale. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I can only tell you my opinion. And XRP is the only company doing this. You sure? I'm not saying XRP's a dime a dozen, but when you got a pack of dimes, there's also a pack of dimes. You got 10 dimes to $1. So I'm just saying, XRP is at $2.30 right now. $2.36. I love that you love XRP and you're buying it at $2.36. But that doesn't change the fact that it was just at 34 cents less than 1 calendar year ago. And buying XRP this high leaves a lot of room for error. on drops. I like when people buy it when it makes the big drop like you did. But I'm saying to buy into an asset that's overinflated until the next move, it's dangerous because you don't know how far it's going to go. Buying spot, and if you're doing it day over day, this very well is a much better rotational area than up here. It's not at 370 and 350 and 340. At least you've come down a dollar. But I was saying the same thing up here. This is going to get you in trouble. Going to get you in trouble. If you buy it right here, it could get you in trouble because if we get the rejection here, then you could have just bought it here or here. And if this breaks down, we're going to have this discussion. And I'm not going to be very happy if we break down because I know what's going to happen for an extended period. I don't want to revisit the 2020 level when the lawsuit was announced. Let me be clear. I do not want to visit this again, but pay attention. If this falls out and this broadening wedge goes goodbye-bye, we're retesting that area. And I don't want to. So I am still confident in November, unless something changes drastically, that this is a dog and pony show right now. And we still have our overall targets. And you're going to be in the right at the end of this, Shane. All I'm saying is you could have been in more of the right with something else that hasn't made the move yet, the initial move. So XRP is looking to finish off this move. And right now you're looking at about 150% from here. If it makes the play that I think it's going to, that I said from even before we broke out of the 6.5-year consolidation, your top end potential is about 167% from here. If you bought it at 34 cents and it goes up 167% from here, you've made a lot of money. It's a big difference. It's like 14 or 13x. So it's the same argument I had with people at 34. I said, are you going to buy it here when it gets to those dollars and it moves $3, $4, $5 where we can 10, 12, 15x on that move and somebody else is going to 1x? And now it just happens to be, now it's my own audience because of, by virtue, by new people coming in, just by not owning it before. Now they're part of that discussion. So now this is moving up 1 or 2x, but now we're sitting, you know, now, and I have no doubt you're going to do fine. You should do fine. I hope you're not going to have to sit through a 10 cent because never say never because XRP has been known to do some drastic things. But I still will always have in the back of my head, and we've talked about this for ages, if we go into a crypto winter, which I don't think we're going there yet. I really don't. But even I can't know because there's things that can change. But if we break down those levels, I'll be the first to say, okay, well, now we might have to do this. We haven't got there yet, not even close. So I got a lot of room. The first sign that would make me nervous is we break down that $1.77 to a $1.82 barrier. The next real sign that I would be nervous is if we lost a $1.34. That $1.34 area to me, if we lost, that's basically our barrier. If we lose that $1.34, I would be a little nervous. And then all of a sudden you look at the Binance wick down to 78, you're like, maybe it was telling us something. Because as of right now, the fact we filled out that gap at $1.50 was what I was thinking, in a big way was hindering us from going up to that next level. So, and I loved reading Anna's comment. She said, where was it at? And I didn't get to all of the comments. I apologize. I kind of got off and started talking. It's already been 58 minutes. There is no way. How is it? Wow. Unbelievable. Anna said, Tom, I wish I knew about you earlier when XRP was at 330. Oh, whew. I wish you did too. I like how you said, I need to catch up on your brain downloads and learn as much as I can. Yes. And then you can see, I always tell people, don't judge me based on the run up. Judge me on how I do things before it drops, or base it on how I talk compared to everybody else, or base it on the fact that I know different sectors. You know, it's been great making money in crypto, but we've cleaned up in commodities and gold and silver. And like everybody kept asking me Friday, did you sell? Did you sell? Did you sell? I could have. I said it on Thursday. If you want to sell right now, you could sell because we were starting to have that chaotic push up. And my target for silver initially was 55.64, and we got up to, on this push, 54.61 within a buck. So, I mean, that is right within the realm of where I thought we were going for that initial push up before we consolidated on 50. And that was from the breakout, which it ended up being a little farther over, which is why I was wrong, because I never redid it. If I would have redid it from where it actually broke out, it would have made more sense. So, I wasn't wrong, but you see what I'm saying. Way overbought. We need a pullback. Gold, way overbought. We need a pullback. Now, the thing about commodities, here's the thing. There is the selling threshold for mining stocks. So if you're watching, here's a scenario. So, okay, we've been buying at 19 and 22 on Pan America. The threshold would be, well, we've been in a very long pattern consolidation, right? And let's just say it wanted to break back down and then we wanted to retest. You're not really going to want to ride this one top, two top, three top, fourth top broke through. We're looking at the back test of this. You can come down a little bit farther. But with the fourth top now showing potential break, it's either we're actually going to do this now and push that $70 on this huge breakout, or it's early. And now we bounce off the lower consolidation, which it would have been at 15 from before in January of 24. Now we come all the way back down and we bounce off at 24. That's a $10 higher floor. But you really don't want to do that, because then you fall back within this, and then it could take you all the way out until a long time. So I would like to believe that it's about to break the higher constraints here, and the commodities needed to wait for a big push through. But who knows? Because now we have to back test all of this. Well, it's all going to depend how gold and silver react. So we should be able to get a double top here at some point, you know, in the micro. So we'll see how these run and how these rally. Dolly Varden with the big dump off. So, I mean, when you're looking for opportunity, you have to look for opportunity, but we also have to make sure, like I said, now a lot of people are going to jump in, and now they could find themselves down 20, 30% right off the go. And then they're going to say, oh, Tom, with these commodities, what a pile of shit. Even though from January, they're still going to be up X amount. It's going to be no different than with crypto. Nobody bought in the bottom, but then once it started to rally and it got pretty high up there, then everybody wants to buy. So now my decision is, do I sell profits and keep the initial investment that I put in? Because after even the drop on Friday, it's somewhere around 45,000 in profits. So do you just sell out the profits and keep the main stake in it? But once you sell it out, there's a tax hit that you're going to have to pay taxes on. And since I don't think gold and silver is done running, and I don't think that the U.S. dollar is just all of a sudden going to get better, and I don't think the U.S. is all of a sudden going to go to quantitative tightening, and I don't think the USA is all of a sudden going to go to rate hikes. So in the environment we're in, we have no choice but to continue to devalue. There's no choice but gold and silver in time here to rally even higher. We're having a squeeze in proportion. This was absolutely needed, and it feels a lot like the paper markets pulled us down. When you start to look at the order books, a lot of short traders are getting crushed. So it's we're in an interesting time here, and I think there's so much opportunity. This is a great time of transfer of wealth. I really do. I think you can be a have-not and become a has-is, or you can be a nobody into somebody, or a somebody can turn into a nobody very quickly here. I've seen more people liquidated in crypto at higher levels than I've ever seen. Ever. I encourage you in the video description below and or pinned comments, follow my YouTube or my Facebook page. I changed the way I do things on here, and I started to do a more higher commitment to my Facebook channel. And my engagement's up by 58%. Messaging's up 1,000%, which I don't answer messages. Followers are up 1% in the last 28 days. $47 in earnings. Look at that. Couldn't care less about that. But the views. I'm out viewing my YouTube channel on here. How does that matter? More people are subscribing on this channel now. But make sure you follow. I put a lot of stuff out here I can't put on YouTube. Mainly because YouTube doesn't, even when I do a post, it's shit. They don't give you the right proper light. So at least on Facebook, I can do stuff like this. What Michael Saylor says, I can do stuff like what Bank America says about raising the actual price. Then I give you the source right below so you can go check them out. I like doing that. I know I don't have to, but I like to show the people who put the time in to do the work. And you can just start looking at all this stuff. Gold hit 30 trillion. It was the first asset class ever to do it. The Trump token I talked about, all their nonsense. And I like to talk stuff. I just put a lot of stuff on here. So you can look at a lot of stuff. It's helped me evolve what I do. And then it helps me pull some of it into YouTube as well because I've got the information sitting and yada, 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 so on and so forth. So, yes, H-bar is another one. I've been telling my audience, own H-bar when you get the right deals. And I was asked a lot about H-bar, and I don't think this has been invalidated. We talked about this. I don't think the inverse head and shoulders has been invalidated yet at all. I think, in fact, it further highlights this. We've talked about the apex could take for a long time, but I'm not sure it's going to take that long, which means you want to start buying near the floor, which is at 4.9. Huge opportunity at 7.3. There was a huge opportunity. I wish I was watching this one, too. How the further advanced. But, I mean, these very well could be on flags here that end up rocking us up to resistance now. So we'll see what happens. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. I got to get going. I'm going to my dad's house today to watch the game. See if Michigan can get their ass whooped again by Washington here. Hopefully Sherrod Moore gets fired in a few days, but it's not going to happen. He's just a horrible coach. I go on and on and on forever. Thank God I found the Army first, and XRP was at 50 cents. God bless you, Tom. See, that's what I want everybody to understand, too, with Shane. He's buying it now to evolve his thing, but he had also bought some at 50 cents. So that, too, to me, how he did it is different. Because he's legitimately not just lying. He's buying it at every level. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Unless you're somebody who just buys it, it's a completely different thing. Like, he bought it at 50. He bought it now. He even bought it on that drop at $1.70-ish level. So he's not just buying it at $3. He actually bought some at 50. He bought some at $1.70. He's bought some at $2.30. He's bought some at $2. You see what I'm saying? So he's buying. He's somebody who's just buying it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But just don't start out buying at a high level and forget to buy it when it drops out. That's what that's the key message. That's my key message. A lot of people will buy it when it's overinflated, but forget to buy it when it drops out and has a 65% correction, as we've seen on Thursday. Shane did not forget to buy it. So that's good. He's buying it everywhere, and that's okay. You love something, you're going to keep evolving into it. So that's how it goes. But you want to love something to have it. But yeah, be blessed. And don't forget about TOOBIT, which is in the video description below under pinned comments on this very live chat. When we had the high times of volatility with the exchanges, it was untouched. Very easy to buy still. Limit, market, leverage, spot, whatever you wanted to do. WeX, make sure for IOTA, they have it in spot, and that's where I own it in spot. Everything else is on TOOBIT and or just a couple of things on Kraken that I like to just sit there, like XDC is sitting there, Band, and Dent. Those are the three I have just sitting there on. And if you want to buy Band, you can buy it on TOOBIT and send it over to your tier 1 exchange, as they can be sent that way. I know we couldn't do it on BitUnix because they did it in a different way of sending Band, but you can do it on TOOBIT. So yeah, there's all of that. So be blessed, everybody, and have a safe, happy, and fruitful Saturday filled with abundance, not just for you, but you.